What a beautiful day. It's the 8th of August, 2016. The dog is in the kennel, and it's going to be a gorgeous next couple of days. I don't know where the rain is. The farmers are coming, by the way. Tomorrow kicks off Empire Farm Days. Yeah, baby. Farm Days are coming over to Rodman Lot Farm, and it's going to be crazy the next few days. Recommend if you're driving to get a pizza or something, you may not want to go up by the SMS because it's going to be a long line of cars getting in and getting out of the Farm Days. And again, I know as the farmers arrive, and we welcome them to the Finger Lakes region. If they're checking us out on Finger Lakes 1 this morning as they arrive early to get set up, I know, boy, they're hurting for rain, and I don't know. I think they might talk about a couple of showers this weekend, maybe. It has been unbelievable. Of course, I remember when I was at Gould's, I've been out about 9 years. We worked at the Water Systems Division. We used to pray for weather like this because, boy, hot, dry weather, drought sells a lot of pumps. And I'm sure they're doing quite well in that area. And, of course, it's not good for a lot of other areas as well. Good morning, everybody. My friends, the political factor is in town today. And Cindy was so excited about coming on this morning. She got here at 7:30. Cindy Lorenzetti, my good friend, along with Steve Churchill, joined us. Cindy, thanks for coming early.
It wasn't 7:30, Harold.
All right. You got here before Jim's maintenance crew got here. That's pretty impressive.
I did. I was starting to wash the windows.
The street sweepers are still out there.
Jimmy would hire if it's cheaper than the one he's got. And Steve Churchill, my friend for many years. And we were talking about my affiliation of parties, and I remember switching over. That's right, Steve. I did do that. Steve begged me for his vote, and I went from Republican to Democrat. And I voted for Steve.
You want to get this on tape.
And Steve won. Yeah, and I want my free lunch at Red's for doing that vote, too.
You'll get it.
I know you will.
I'm good for it.
I know you are. Yeah.
On my 71st.
I know. That's right. I'll be 100. Well, good morning. We got lots to talk about, Steve, and we'll talk about a lot of other things during the show. And by the way, Cindy, I would be remiss if I did not talk about A-Rod for a minute. I know you're a diehard Yankee fan. Your opinion on A-Rod, what's your thought process? His last game, I don't know why it's on Friday. But its last game is going to be Friday.
Yeah.
I don't know why it isn't Sunday after a series. But other than what's your feeling on A-Rod?
We're going there now?
Yeah,
okay.
Go there.
Well, I haven't been as in tune to the Yankees since all my guys left.
Okay.
But I will say one thing. Following him for the years that I have, I think it's very graceful exit, and I do want to congratulate the Yankee management for doing it because they probably could have just said, you're done, you're not helping. But they're giving him a spot to stay on to try to train some of the young ones coming in. And I just think it shows a little bit of class. It's probably something the dad would have done. But again, I'm pretty surprised that with the management that's in place now, he actually did it. So that's good for A-Rod. I mean, he had his troubles and he brought a lot of controversy. But he did try to fix himself up, and he did help out for a short time. And I just think it's a very graceful exit, and I give them credit for being classy about it.
And let's point out he's going to make $46 million for being an advisor consultant, $23 million this year, $23 million next year.
I think it would have been cheaper to do that than to go to court with it. So.
Yeah. By the way, Mark Teixeira announcing he's done at the end of the season with his injury-prone situation that's developing with his game. And, of course, Teixeira had some great years with the Yankee organization. Of course, has fallen off because he's been injured and on the DL too many times. And I give him credit. He's getting out. He's a young guy. He certainly doesn't worry about the money aspect. He's certainly got plenty. So he's leaving. And I guess the only comment I would make, being my wife's a big Yankee fan, I'm sort of menza, is they got to find a way to get CeCe Sabathia out of there, too, because he can't get Mother Teresa out. And we'll have to wait and see how that turns. By the way, on A-Rod, Cindy, one other comment. Cindy Lorenzetti, Steve Churchill, my guest this morning. You think A-Rod will get in the Hall of Fame or no because of his past discrepancies?
Geez, I don't know.
It's going to be interesting, huh? Be time to tell. Yeah. Will the voters hold it against them? They usually do. They've held it against.
Well, let's held it against Pete Rose.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
So.
I think Pete belongs in my personal view.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about the Board of Supervisors. Of course, you guys actively involved in many issues. Stevie, what's on your docket right now? What are you working on that's passionate with you? Give us an overview. Did I ask you a question that confused you?
Yeah.
Wake up. You should have been here early.
Oh, I know. But is there something you were talking about? I know you have some pet projects you're always involved
in. I'm always working on the environmental front.
Bingo.
So gas-free, trying to get the gas storage.
How's that working out?
Well, tonight, Schuyler County Legislature is going to meet. They have a proposed resolution on before them to essentially support the project again. So I'll be going down there. hopefully to speak in front of that board, try to get on the speakers list. But there's been some good twists and turns, I think, on in our benefit, is in opposition to that storage project that have come to light in the last year or so. So, the longer it goes, I guess, DEC hasn't made a decision, so we just keep the pressure on.
Right.
I plan on bringing a resolution before our board our committee next week or a couple weeks to ask that we ask the DEC. I mean, U.S. Salt dumps 40,000 pounds. They're permitted to dump 40,000 pounds of salt into Seneca Lake every day.
Wow.
And, and I've known that for a while, and it just finally hit me like, why have we challenged that? I mean, in this day and age, I don't know why we'd be dumping any salt into Seneca Lake. Seneca Lake is beyond the threshold of being safe for folks that are at risk for high salt in their diet, so they shouldn't be dumping any salt in there. So we're going to I'm going to float that resolution in a couple of weeks.
And Cindy, of course, I saw an article I was kidding you about before airtime this morning. It appears that Varick and Fayette may be coming to Love Fest regarding the water situation, which I know has been one of your topics for many, many, many years.
Yes, actually that has taken place, and I give credit to Tom Fox that reached out to us and said, can we get together and try to figure out what the hell this mess is all about? So we met, and it seemed that there should be an advisory board. Because of the conflicts that the supervisors had, I gracefully said, okay, I'll bow out. I won't be involved in this. And my councilman, Jeff Trout, with Jim Bromka as our representatives for the town of Fayette, and Tom Fox and Todd Horton represent Varick. They basically went to the meeting and proposed it, and it was voted. It passed 3-2, with Kathy Russo being the other one, I think, that voted for it. So I think that's a great thing for the town of Fayette and the town of Varick, that we're working together and hopefully can try to mend some roads and move forward for the future for the taxpayers.
And I think we talked about this, Steve, before we went on the air. I know I was asked because they knew you guys were coming back on today. And that, of course, is about sharing the wealth that the supervisors, Seneca County, gets relative to tax revenues. I know my good friend Ted Young, who's been scheduled to come on this show several times. We've yet to get him on, but we will work on that. Asking for a slice of the pie. To date, it doesn't happen. Your opinion is it may happen down the road. What's your gut feeling about it developing into something that will share some wealth with the counties and the villages and the towns of the Seneca County?
Well, as you know, it was 2 years ago that there was a gentleman from Covert, town of Covert, Mr. Bozeman. And he and a group of folks brought together a proposal to do this revenue sharing of a portion of the new sales tax dollars. The first time I heard it, I actually heard it presented down in Covert that night, and I thought it sounded like it had merit. And I supported having the conversation about that from the get-go. And I still lean towards doing it. That we should share a portion of some sales tax dollars. There's very few ways for local towns and municipalities to generate revenue. They can only do it by raising their taxes and try to increase their tax base. But the county collects all the sales tax, and we are going to get a boon of sales tax dollars with Delago and the development of 318 corridor. So I have no problem at all sharing a portion of that with the towns. Now, that said, it has to be decided what that program looks like. Many counties do it. I think the majority of counties in New York State share revenues in some way, so I support it.
Cindy, the argument that has been that I've heard from meetings that you guys hold, there's some people saying they don't want to do it from the supervisor level because they want to hold on to those funds. What's the argument against sharing it? I know that has been well documented over the last several years. There are supervisors that have come out, whether they're still there or not, I can't tell you that. What is the argument about not sharing it? Is there an argument that makes sense from the other side of it?
Well, I think, quite honestly, it's been a couple of years, but I think one of them was the mandates that Albany carries down that counties have to provide, but those mandates also trickle down through the towns. And I do believe when it came through a couple years ago, we should have probably spent a little more time on it. We decided at that point, no, not at that time. But just as Steve said, we've got the casino coming in, and we're going to have a lot of development on 318. And I just think that we need to bring it back and do the pros and the cons. You know, why should we? Yeah. What will it do to the county? Definitely needs to be looked at. My big thing is I don't know how they would share it across the boards, but that's one of the big things that I'd want to know. And I'm sure if we did some studies on it, we'd be able to get some, of the questions answered.
Now, one story that has come out on the supervisor level is you folks voted to buy the old Bonnadette building. Steve, was that always the idea of getting that Del Lago funds to use it for that purpose?
No, I think the Del Lago thing kind of came up, or the Bonnadette building came about fairly quickly. To me, it was certainly a no-brainer. I mean, I took a tour of the facility. The money that we paid for is, 25 cents on the dollar, if not less than that. It's a beautiful building. It's located in the right place. It had an opportunity to maybe move in some other directions, but we do have the issues with the odor from the landfill. We're trapped there anyways. The county office building are there, so it's really a good fit. But the Del Lago money, plays into it in the respect that they're looking for a home for their child care center, and there's one right there at the facility, so we might be able to generate some income to help us pay for the building. But it's a perfect fit.
And I would not be doing my job as the moderator of this show if I didn't ask you about Seneca Metals and the town of Seneca Falls. Even though you guys are supervisors of Seneca County, you have an active interest in this issue. Obviously you do. It's a big issue. It reminds me of two gunslingers in a Western movie standing out in the middle of a road with pistols. And it's just a matter of who blinks first, in my view. This is my personal view, not sharing it with you guys at this point. I'm just showing you what I think. It's the Kyle Blacks holding a gun and Greg Lazaro holding a gun. It's the question of who's going to trigger first. I mean, we can talk about Seneca Metals and the environment and the odor, et cetera, till the cows come home. I guess I'm not as astute as a politician thinker as you two are, since you do this a long time. I guess I kept hearing 2023. That was supposedly the host agreement or whatever that's called. And now they are deciding or contemplating the passage of a Local Law 7, which, by the way, I've never read. All I hear about is Local Law 7. Local Law 7, I think, means, Steve, and Cindy, correct me, Steve, if I'm wrong, that it would forbid any potential
new landfills.
But it would also shut down them in 17, in the verbiage.
Well, no new landfill expansions.
Right.
And so there's the question.
Does it shut them down next year?
It possibly could, I guess. I didn't interpret that way because it does exempt existing landfills.
Okay.
But I guess there's a window where they essentially lose a permit and a new permit has to start. So there's that 1 second where they really don't have a permit. And under the conditions of the local law number 7, then they wouldn't be able to operate. But it certainly is going to end up in court probably somehow, someday. If it's not with local law number 7, it's not going to end peacefully. The landfill, I think, has no intentions on ever going anywhere except across 414 to the Dove Farm that they bought 14 years ago for that purpose. So not a bright future unless we make it brighter for our kids. And is that a tough road to hoe? Absolutely. Is there going to be some pain? Absolutely. Will we survive? Absolutely. And that's what people got to believe. And the other thing I want to say is people are scared to death about taxes doubling. They got to realize and keep in mind that that's just the town portion of their tax. It's not like, I have a fairly large tax liability, and that's not going to double. It's just the town taxes that would double. By far the largest portion of our taxes is our school taxes. That doesn't come into play at all with the landfill. The county tax that we pay doesn't come into play. It's only the town tax, and people really need to remember that. The sky really isn't falling. And the other thing I'd like to say about the taxes is this. In the town of Seneca Falls, we paid zero for many, many years. So essentially, we got a free ride. So maybe we have to pay a little bit more to get ourselves out of this. But we paid zero, absolutely zero tax, because of the landfill money. So, I think we need to sit down and really talk this thing out. But as far as a gunslinger, I don't go with the gunslinger analogy. I go more with David and Goliath. And certainly the landfill is Goliath. And poor old David, we don't have a whole lot to fight with, but damn it, I give our town board credit right now because they are fighting.
And by the way, Cindy, I assume you concur with Steve's comments thus far on that issue?
Yeah, I do. I try not to get, too vocal with it. I'm at the meeting so people know that I'm there and that I am concerned.
Sure.
But it's the town of Seneca Falls. I'm the town of Fayette.
Right.
At the county level, I've supported anything that he's brought across in environmental affairs, and I will continue to do so. But I agree with Steve. I think people, when they see taxes doubled, think about it. Look at the town part, and that's a good point to bring up here. And I think there's just a lot of skies falling, and we can't afford it. Yeah. But again, just like Steve said, you got to look to the future of the kids and the environment. True. And the biggest joke is you can see it as Kyle Black versus Greg. But I see it more as this area versus D.C. Right. And I'll tell you what, it's this factor with D.C. and it's the salt caverns and the salt with Seneca Lake, and D.C. is, let's not forget, pretty much controlled by the governor. So I'm bringing it right back up there. You have the power to basically say, hey, let's take away that gas storage. And let's try to figure out if, in fact, they close the landfill, where will the next one go? Right.
Well, I'm sure a raucous meeting is scheduled already for September 28th on this issue, Local Law 7. It was voted 3-2 to a very unhappy Greg Lazaro, who did not want it to set it up at that point. He got outvoted 3-2. Sandrone, Lutz, and DeLalis voted for it. Peretti and Lazaro voted against, so he lost. So there will be a public hearing, and I'm sure it's going to be a packed house for that one. That'll be on September the 28th. I think it's been scheduled. By the way, just so you know, programming note for this show, because that has happened, I thought it'd be interesting to find out what Kyle Black's views are leading up to the public hearing. So we've inserted a special show, not a special show, it's going to be on a Monday. It'll be September 25th. Kyle Black and Mark Benjamin will be here on the couch talking about the hearing,
I think they should have
leading up to the big public hearing to see where he stands, and it should be quite interesting. But
they're better interesting if you put a couple of us in that meeting.
Oh, that'd be great. Oh, baby, yeah. I think maybe.
Wait, we could get another couch with 2 more seats.
Yeah, we could move to Jimmy's lawn too and broadcast it live. Hey, listen, we're going to take our commercial break. We got lots more to talk about. I got a few local notes to bring people up to date on. Some upcoming guests coming up. This is Weber This Week on a Monday, August 8th, 2016. My friend Cindy Lorenzetti, Steve Churchill are in the house. We'll come back after we hear from these great sponsors.
Yay, good job.
Cayuga Lake National Bank. Visit Bill Ryan and his team for all of your banking needs. Offices in Union Springs and Aurora, a fine sponsor of this show for over 30 years. DA Liquor on Bridge Street in Seneca Falls. Amy Padula and her team will find the right spirit for you every time. When you stop in, tell Amy the dog sent you. Steve Wadhams and Wadhams Enterprises, your local employer of choice. Proud supporter of Weber This Week and local athletics. Fill out an application at wadhams.com. The Gould Hotel welcomes you to come out and enjoy the revitalization of this historic downtown Seneca Falls landmark. Every Wednesday is Ladies' Night with special price drinks and half-priced appetizers. Learn more at thegouldhotel.com. The Omen Theater on William Street in Lyons. See what's playing this week at omentheater.com. Located off New York State Thruway Exit 41, the McGee Diner has earned their reputation as a popular family restaurant, serving country, fresh, home-cooked meals daily. Stop in for breakfast, lunch, or dinner, and check out their menu at McGeeDiner.com. Live, laugh, and eat well. It's the Italian way. It's also the Cicino's way. It's time to get connected. Cicino's is now offering online web ordering. Located on Main Street in Waterloo, 401 Exchange Street in Geneva. Place your order today at Cicinos.com. Del Lago Resort and Casino will feature a luxurious 205-room hotel, several restaurants ranging from casual to fine dining, and a 2,500-capacity entertainment venue called The Vine. The casino will have 2,000 slot machines, 75 table games, and 10 poker tables. Visit www.dellagoresort.com. Seneca Metals is an award-winning company that has earned a reputation of going above and beyond to protect the environment and support their community. As an EPA inspector once said, their operation is head and shoulders above the rest. The Seneca Falls Country Club, awesome 18-hole layout, open to the public, and a 12-month payment plan for members. Check out SenecaFallsCountryClub.com. And the Newark Pilots of the Perfect Game Collegiate Baseball League, a minor league team with a major league ballpark. Season ticket packages available at NewarkPilots.com. And the Wilson Press in Seneca Falls. My good pal Rich Rickey and his team can handle all of your printing and mailing needs. Visit them online at wpress.com. Rich Rickey and Wilson Press, a fine sponsor of Weber This Week.
We're back here, the dog with you. Seneca Lorenzetti, Steve Churchill will be back to them in a couple minutes. A couple of sports notes and a couple of local notes I wanted to pass along. I was looking at the college football rankings. Boy, some things never change. The same teams are always in the top 10 or 15. It seems like every year. Alabama, the one, Clemson, Oklahoma, Florida State. This is like a broken record. Ohio State, LSU, wow. Same old teams, powerhouses. The rich get richer, the poor get poor. Man, oh man, you got a great football program. These kids want to line up and play. I was looking at SU, speaking of Syracuse football, or speaking of college football, I was looking at their schedule this morning before I came on the air. Their beginning of the schedule, Jimmy, looks like they got some easy games they could probably win, but that back end of that schedule looks pretty tough to me, from Carolina State, Florida State, Clemson. So that back end of the SU schedule looks more intimidating than the front part of that schedule. It'll be interesting to know. By the way, SU, give credit to Dino Babbers and his team. They got some nice recruits coming in there around the country. Some people are starting to head for Syracuse, and that's what they got to have. Hey, by the way, couple of quick notes regarding the Olympics. I've been watching some of it. My wife's more intense than I am. I'm looking for the track and field personally. But the Americans' decision to have Michael Phelps, by the way, the 23 gold medals he's won, or 23, amazing.
23 medals, 19 gold.
23 medals, 19 golds. And I think the guy's a phenomenal athlete. Did America make a mistake by letting him wear the American flag coming in the opening ceremonies? In my view, they did. Reason I say that, he's got baggage. Mm-hmm. 2 DUIs, and 2 drug arrests. 4 counts. I looked it up, so I'm not making this stuff out of thin air. My point is, how do you choose Michael Phelps? Granted, one of the best Olympians, one of the best of all time. But why would you pick him with the baggage? Kids look at that and say, oh, yeah, I saw that. Yeah. I saw that video of him in a hotel room smoking this thing, whatever they post. I just found it amazing. You got to have somebody with a little cleaner background, in my personal view. I thought that was a mistake. Whatever. Hey, by the way, I was down at, I was up at Lizard's Tailgater Lounge, one of Steve Churchill's favorite spots.
It is, absolutely.
Yeah. Scott Trickler, who hasn't bought a drink for any of his patrons in the last 15 years that I can recall. I was there playing some quick loss. We call it quick draw, just hanging out, having a beer, chewing the fat with Trickler. And there was this young lady and a young man that was to the left at the bar. And I looked at her and I said, boy, oh boy, I'm getting old, boy, I really am. But that girl looks familiar to me. She looked at me, I looked at her, and she looked at me, I looked at her. I said, I know you. And she goes, I know you. And she goes, oh, are you Harold Wimmer? I go, yeah. And she goes, oh my God, I'm Christy Willower. She used to waitress at the Deerhead Inn 20 years ago, and she's married to John Stuck.
Oh, yes.
John Stuck. They've been married 16 years. They've been together 22 years. Her name is Christy Willower, and the funny part of it is I'm playing quick draw, and she says to me, are you playing 1 and 80? Because she remembers 20 years ago when I was at the Deerhead playing that stupid game that I used to play 1 and 80. Those are my numbers. Me. And I held up my ticket. It was 1 and 80.
Did you win?
No, I did not.
There's our new finance director for Seneca County.
The dog?
No, her. She can remember numbers like that.
Well, she remembered it. 1 and 80. And wow. By the way, Christy and John moved away to Tampa for a period of time, and they were going to put on a big clam bake for all their friends, including the dog. which never materialized. Sort of like you buying me lunch at Red's. It never has happened. And Christy and John took a couple of their friends to McDonald's for half a hamburger. So I want to send out the best to Christy Willower and John Stuck, who I met at the Lizards. She remembered me, which is a scary thought, and she remembered the numbers I played at Quick Draw, and I was playing the identical numbers. You talk about Twilight Zone, Rod Serling, kind of scary.
Yeah.
Hey, folks, by the way, let's get back to Cindy and Steve. Look at our clock. It's 9:55. Yeah. Cindy's been here for 3 hours. She came in with a maintenance crew this morning. So talk a little bit about the supervisor level. What's coming up as far as important stuff in the next couple meetings? Anything going on that will be hot topics, Cindy? Anything that you can think of that may turn on the public?
We always have hot topics.
Oh, good.
We are going to be doing a couple interviews for finance director.
Okay.
So
boy, that's been going around. What's going on with that? That's been going on forever, hasn't it?
Yeah.
6 months.
Yeah. But you know what? It was an important position. It was a new position.
Right.
And you need to take the time with it. And so looking forward to seeing how, what the interviewees are like and going from there. I'll let Steve speak to the next issue that we have at the county, which will be Tuesday.
What is it?
We've been talking about fleet management of our 94 vehicle light fleet. That I
heard that the Chrysler place was in the hunt, and then they were going to go somewhere else.
Yeah, county manager's pushing really hard for enterprise fleet management.
Right.
Nobody's convinced this legislator yet that it's even the right tack to take. I haven't seen the analysis of the current state to find, to determine whether we should even be considering leasing. Most of our vehicles, or a large percentage of our vehicles, are paid for and reimbursed by the state. All the vehicles that are bought by DHS, the ones that you see lined up and sitting there throughout the day. Number one, I think we have too many vehicles, right? We have 94 light vehicles. I mean, it's
94.
Incredible. 94. That's just
the
the light. That's stuff that's under 25,000 pounds or whatever.
F-150.
Why do you need so many? Oh,
I don't know. That to me, that's the part of this whole analysis that we haven't done yet. We're kind of rushing. To me, we have the cart before the horse here. Let's take a look at our fleet management and decide how many vehicles we really need. If we can share, if we can let people use their own vehicles and reimburse them, that kind of stuff.
Or give the new finance director a chance to come in and take. That could be one of the first things they look at and come back to us.
Well, so it basically came down to supporting a local business, correct, versus enterprise. And I think Bob Heisen's name was in the paper about he put us.
Heisen really kind of, I think, prodded Finger Lakes to get something, or at least he was speaking up for Finger Lakes.
Okay.
Again, our county manager is just dead set that enterprise is the solution. We didn't receive any proposals from either Hertz or Avis, but they do the fleet management as well. So I don't know. I think we're rushing this thing.
Okay.
There's no deadline for it. It kind of came out of the blue, and I don't see the hurry, but there's a lot of things that seem to be.
And I couldn't let you guys get away, since we only got a couple minutes left, to talk about the national race for President of the United States. Steve,
I gotta go.
Steve and Cindy and myself are Democrats, and Jimmy is an independent. And Cindy looks good for our party, and it looks real good. I commented before I went on the air. I know that Bob Heisen doesn't normally watch my show because he's pulling for Donald. I can't possibly win Trump, but I look at the polls, and I'm a poll watcher, and I'm normally not swayed by it, Cindy and Steve, but when I see 28 polls and they're all in the same ledger, pro-Hillary, I get a little nervous for the Republicans, So you got to be feeling good in a way, and I know that Hillary's got baggage. I know she's got some issues. I get the trustworthy issues, and I'm so sick and tired of hearing about these emails. Let's move on. But it looks like, and unless I'm wrong, every poll I've seen the last week and a half, and I mean 25 or 30 polls, have her favorite. So, granted, Steve, you guys run for your offices, and they don't keep the polls maybe as accurate as, or try to zero in as they do in the national scene. But Stevie, I think that Donald has to pick up the pace here if he's going to be a race. It looks that way to me, anyways.
Oh, absolutely.
Got to pick up the pace.
I mean, the guy is his own worst enemy. I think he's had many coaches come up and say, "Hey, look, it's time to kind of stand down, cool it with the rhetoric, the inflammatory rhetoric," and he's just not listening to anybody. I mean, he really is. you got to give the guy credit. He does. He doesn't listen to anybody. He just says it like it is. But unfortunately, a lot of stuff that he says is very hurtful, and there's a lot of hate in it.
Well, that comment he made on stage about the Purple Heart, oh my God, I still can't get over it. That still brings. Why would you do that? You know?
I just, he needs to just kind of quiet himself. And quite honestly, I was very impressed with the daughter speech, and she should be the one that's thinking of getting into politics. But I guess we'll see. We'll see what happens. There's still a few weeks left.
I know. Oh, yeah. Well, guys, I appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to come in this morning. And, Stevie, next time, get a limo and pick up Cindy at the right time for the appearance on the show.
I wasn't going to be late, Harold. Come on.
I know. I'm impressed, honey.
Right?
I'm impressed.
There you go.
Hey, by the way, before we sign off on the Weber Show, a reminder of some upcoming guests next week. I always like getting tips from people about potential guests. And Marcy Newmeyer at Seneca Metals, a good friend of mine, gave me a tip. She was at a winery some time ago, and a gentleman was playing instruments, and a young girl, I think her first name is Emily Testa. We're at a winery, and she plays ukulele, and she sings, and according to Marcy, she was really good. They're coming in next week, or she's coming in next week. Her father won't be in town, but we hope to get Emily Testa on the couch, and maybe she'll sing a song for us and play the ukulele. So that'll be next week on the Weber Show. Then the 22nd, earlier we had the Faces of OTB. We had my friend Angie DeMarco and Shannon Avon in on the show, who do the OTB stuff out on outside of Seneca Falls. Their boss, the Western New York OTB director, Sean Ciano, is hopefully coming on the 22nd. The 29th, we go back to Del Lago. Jeff Babinski, Jerry Moran will give us an update, and Jimmy and myself will go out probably a few days before then. And Jimmy will bring his video and we'll take some shots, because it should really be changing dramatically in the next few weeks. So the end of August, folks, be sure to check out our show, because I'm sure Jimmy and myself will be out there. He'll shoot some great video. He'll hold the camera because he knows what he's doing. I'll be giving directions like, where's the Coke? But anyways, Jimmy will be watching, and we'll be videotaping some information, showing you what the Del Lago. And by the way, if you're a Facebook friend, get on DelLago.com, or Del Lago Facebook page, I should say. They got Ask the GM. That's a real good piece that Jeff Babinski is doing. And he did a recent walkthrough himself, showing everybody what it's going to look like. So it's pretty neat, but it'll change in the next 4 weeks. And Jim and myself will bring you some of that live video on the 29th when they appear. So, again, for Steve Churchill and Cindy, thanks, guys. Look forward to having you back soon.
You.
All right. For Cindy Lorenzetti and Steve Churchill and my director and producer and owner of this place, Jim Senecropi, this is the dog bidding you farewell. Enjoy the weather, folks, and we need some rain. God bless you.